Respecting boundaries is one of the clearest marks of a disciplined and honorable man. Boundaries are not obstacles meant to be broken, but lines that define a person's comfort, dignity, and self-respect. When a woman sets boundaries, she is communicating her needs, values, and personal limits. To disregard them is to disregard her as a person. A Stoic man understands that respecting boundaries is not just about politeness, but about self-control and moral integrity. It shows that he is in command of his own impulses, not ruled by them. This is why the ability to honor a woman's boundaries is not weakness, but strength. It takes discipline to resist crossing lines simply because you want something. When a man ignores boundaries, he sends a message that his own desires are more important than another person's comfort or safety. This erodes trust, and trust once broken is incredibly hard to rebuild. A wise man knows that a relationship, whether romantic, professional, or platonic, thrives only when both sides feel respected. Without respect, any connection becomes fragile and temporary. In Stoicism, self-restraint is a pillar of virtue, and respecting boundaries is a direct practice of that restraint. Boundaries can exist in many forms: physical, emotional, intellectual, or even digital. Physical boundaries might mean respecting personal space or not touching without consent. Emotional boundaries could mean not forcing someone to share feelings they're not ready to discuss. Intellectual boundaries might be respecting differences in beliefs without pushing your own agenda. Digital boundaries could involve respecting privacy and not overstepping. In online interactions, a Stoic man is aware of these layers and treats them all with equal seriousness. It's important to remember that boundaries are not fixed for all time. They can change depending on circumstances, trust levels, and life experiences. A man who practices Stoic awareness is attentive to these changes. He listens when a woman expresses her limits, and he adjusts his actions accordingly. This shows not only respect for her, but also adaptability and emotional intelligence. Some men see boundaries as challenges to be overcome, a sign of resistance to be broken down. But this is the mindset of the undisciplined. In truth, respecting a woman's boundaries creates a stronger bond because she sees that you value her autonomy. The moment she realizes that you are safe to be around, that you will not take advantage of vulnerability, you begin to build something rare, genuine trust. This trust forms the foundation for deeper connection, whether in friendship, love, or collaboration. The Stoic approach teaches that you cannot control another person, only yourself. Boundaries are not about restriction, they are about respect. A man who honors them shows mastery over his desires, patience in his actions, and integrity in his character. Anger is one of the most dangerous emotions when left unchecked, and the words spoken in anger often cause wounds that last far longer than the moment itself. A Stoic man understands that the heat of the past moment is rarely the time to speak. The tongue is sharp, and when fueled by anger, it can cut deeper than any blade. Words once spoken cannot be taken back, no matter how many apologies follow. Self-mastery begins with mastering your reactions, and controlling your speech in moments of rage is a clear sign of inner strength. When anger takes over, logic often disappears. In that state, the mind searches not for truth or understanding, but for ammunition to hurt. A man who lets anger control his speech becomes a slave to the moment, giving away his power to an emotion that clouds judgment. Stoicism teaches the importance of pausing, of letting the wave of anger pass before deciding how to respond. That pause is not weakness, it is the discipline to choose your words with clarity rather than letting them spill out in destructive fury. In any interaction with a woman, this principle becomes even more critical. Words spoken in anger can damage her trust, shatter her sense of safety, and create emotional scars. Whether it's in a relationship, a family bond, or a professional setting, once your words are laced with rage, they can overshadow all the respect and goodwill you've built. Even if the content of your pain message is valid, the delivery can make it impossible for her to hear it without pain or resentment. Controlling anger does not mean suppressing it entirely or pretending it doesn't exist. It means acknowledging its presence without letting it take the driver's seat. A Stoic man notices the physical signs of anger: the tightening chest, the quickened breath, the clenched jaw, and uses them as a signal to slow down. This could mean taking a deep breath, stepping away from the conversation, or delaying your response until clarity returns. The goal is to respond with reason, not react with hostility. Anger can also be deceptive, often masking deeper emotions like hurt, fear, or frustration. By pausing before speaking, you give yourself the chance to uncover the real cause of your feelings. This self-awareness not only prevents harmful words, but also allows for a more honest and productive conversation later. In relationships, this practice builds stability because it shows that you are not ruled by impulsive outbursts. It demonstrates that your respect for the other person outweighs your desire to win an argument or vent your frustration. The Stoic discipline of measured speech transforms potential conflict into an opportunity for understanding. By refusing to let anger dictate your words, you protect your integrity, preserve respect, and ensure that your voice remains a tool for connection rather than disruption. A man who seeks to dominate a woman's spirit misunderstands the essence of true strength, power over another. Person's will is not a victory. It is a sign of insecurity disguised as authority. A Stoic man understands that every individual's spirit is their most sacred possession, the inner flame that fuels their identity, dreams, and resilience. To try to overshadow it, to break it down for the sake of feeling superior, is to act from weakness rather than confidence. Relationships, whether romantic or otherwise, are not arenas for dominance, but spaces for mutual respect and growth. When a man views interactions as competitions for control, the dynamic becomes unhealthy. It shifts from partnership to power struggle, from connection to conquest. This mindset breeds resentment and mistrust. A woman's spirit should be nurtured, not subdued. In Stoicism, greatness is measured by mastery of self, not mastery over others. The strongest man is the one who can stand beside someone as an equal, encouraging their light to shine rather than trying to dim it. Domination of the spirit can take many subtle forms. It is not always loud or aggressive. Sometimes it hides in constant criticism, belittling remarks, or dismissing her achievements. It can be in controlling her decisions, undermining her confidence, or making her feel that her worth is dependent on your approval. These acts may seem small in the moment, but can erode a person's sense of self over time. A Stoic man is vigilant against such behavior in himself, recognizing that every human being has the right to their own dignity and independence. True partnership thrives when both people feel free to be their authentic selves. Supporting a woman's spirit means encouraging her ambitions, respecting her choices, and standing with her even when her perspective differs from yours. It requires humility, the willingness to listen, to learn, and to admit when you're wrong. A man who seeks to elevate rather than dominate earns a far deeper and lasting respect than one who tries to assert control. There is also a deep personal benefit in refusing to compete for dominance. When you are not trying to suppress another person's spirit, you are free from the exhausting cycle of comparison and control. You can focus on building your own character rather than constantly proving your superiority. This shift leads to more genuine interactions rooted in trust rather than fear. The Stoic way is not about bending others to your will, but about aligning your will with virtue. A man who does not compete to dominate a woman's spirit shows that he values harmony over hierarchy, respect over rivalry, and love over power. He recognizes that the greatest legacy he can leave is not control, but the freedom and confidence he helps others maintain. To ignore a woman's value as a person is to fail at the most basic level of human respect. Every individual carries inherent worth that exists beyond roles, appearances, or what they can offer you. A Stoic man understands that true respect is rooted in seeing someone for their humanity first, before any label or expectation. Recognizing her value means acknowledging her thoughts, feelings, dreams, and struggles as real and significant, not dismissing them because they do not align with your own perspective or desires. When a man overlooks a woman's worth, the relationship becomes transactional. She is seen as useful only when she meets a certain need, whether emotional, physical, or social. This approach strips away dignity and reduces the bond to a shallow exchange. Stoic philosophy teaches that people are ends in themselves, never merely tools to achieve personal goals. Valuing someone means appreciating them, even when they have nothing to give you in return. Her value is not measured by how much she agrees with you, how she makes you feel, or what she can do for you. It lies in her individuality, her experiences, her principles, her potential to grow and contribute to the world in her own way. A man who sees this will listen to her opinions, respect her decisions, and show genuine interest in her aspirations. This respect does not mean blind agreement, but it does mean honoring her right to think, choose, and exist as her own person. Ignoring her value often happens not through deliberate cruelty, but through neglect. Failing to acknowledge her contributions, interrupting her when she speaks, or dismissing her concerns as unimportant are subtle ways of devaluing her. Over time, such behavior communicates that she does not matter, eroding trust and connection. The Stoic man remains conscious of these patterns and actively works against them, knowing that small acts of respect build the strongest relationships. Seeing her value also means recognizing her humanity in moments of disagreement or conflict. It is easy to appreciate someone when things are going well. It is much harder when tempers rise or perspectives clash. But the measure of a man's character is how he treats others in difficult moments. Valuing her as a person means holding her dignity intact even when you strongly disagree, refusing to belittle or undermine her simply to assert your own position. A man who consistently affirms a woman's worth creates an environment where she feels safe to be herself. This safety is not about protection in a physical sense alone, but about emotional security, knowing she will be heard, respected, and valued regardless of circumstances. Such an environment fosters trust, cooperation, and mutual growth, laying the foundation for a connection that is both strong and enduring. Manipulating someone through guilt or fear is one of the most destructive ways to interact because it undermines trust and replaces genuine connection with control. A Stoic man understands that persuasion built on integrity is far more powerful than influence gained through emotional coercion. When guilt or fear is used to guide another person's decisions, it strips them of their freedom to choose based on their own judgment. This not only damages the relationship, but also weakens the character of the one who resorts to such tactics. Guilt is a heavy burden, and when used as a weapon, it can make a person doubt themselves and their worth. By constantly reminding someone of past mistakes, or implying that they owe you more than they can give, you force them into a position of emotional debt. This is not respect, it is manipulation disguised as concern. Fear works in a similar way, creating an environment where the other person feels they must comply or risk punishment, abandonment, or emotional harm. Such control may appear effective in the short term, but it corrodes the foundation of trust that is essential for any healthy relationship. In dealings with women, this behavior can be particularly harmful because it preys on emotional vulnerability. A woman who feels trapped by guilt or fear may comply outwardly, but will eventually withdraw emotionally. The connection becomes hollow, sustained only by pressure rather than mutual respect and choice. A Stoic man knows that real strength lies in creating an atmosphere where both people feel free to express themselves without the looming threat of emotional consequence. Avoiding manipulation means communicating openly and honestly even when it is difficult. It means respecting her right to say no without making her feel she has betrayed you. It also requires the courage to accept that her choices might not always align with your desires, and to handle that reality without resorting to tactics that make her feel responsible for your emotions. This approach not only upholds her dignity but also demonstrates your own self-control and emotional maturity. Stoicism teaches that you cannot control another person's mind or heart, and any attempt to do so is a futile misuse of energy. Instead, you focus on controlling your own responses and maintaining your own virtue. When you choose not to manipulate through guilt or fear, you show that your connection is based on mutual respect and voluntary commitment. This creates a relationship dynamic where trust can flourish, because each person knows they are free to make choices without hidden strings attached. A man who leads through respect rather than intimidation sends a powerful message that he values truth over control, freedom over compliance, and integrity over winning at any cost. By refusing to use guilt or fear as tools, he preserves not just the other person's autonomy, but also his own honor and strength of character. Desire is a natural human feeling, but entitlement is a dangerous distortion of it. Wanting something does not mean you have the right to have it, especially when it involves another person's body, time, or emotional investment. A Stoic man understands that desire must be tempered by reason, respect, and self-control. He knows that while attraction or longing can be powerful, it should never lead to the assumption that someone owes you fulfillment of those desires. Entitlement is rooted in ego, the belief that your wants are more important than another person's boundaries or choices. When a man confuses desire with entitlement, he begins to act as though his interest automatically grants him access. This mindset disregards consent, mutual interest, and respect for autonomy. It reduces a relationship to a one-sided transaction, where the other person's comfort and willingness are secondary to personal gratification. Zeus thinking not only disrespects the woman involved, but it also undermines the man's own integrity by placing selfish impulse above moral principle. Stoicism teaches that the things outside our control, including the choices of others, should be accepted without resentment. You can control your actions, your words, and your attitude, but you cannot control someone else's feelings or decisions. To act entitled because your desire is not met is to reveal a lack of discipline and self-awareness. True strength lies in being able to accept a no with grace, without letting rejection turn into anger, manipulation, or bitterness. Desire can be a healthy force when it is channeled respectfully. It can inspire you to connect, to pursue someone, attention, or to build a relationship, but always with the understanding that the other person's consent and comfort are paramount. Entitlement, however, poisons that process by making it about possession rather than connection. It turns affection into expectation and attraction into demand. In relationships, confusing desire with entitlement often leads to unhealthy dynamics. It can manifest in pressure, guilt, or frustration when the other person does not respond as hoped. This not only damages the bond, but also creates an atmosphere of tension and mistrust. A Stoic man approaches desire with humility, recognizing it as a feeling to be managed, not a command to be obeyed at any cost. By separating desire from entitlement, you preserve respect, both for yourself and for the woman involved. You show that you value her freedom of choice, her right to set boundaries, and her autonomy over her own life. This mindset fosters trust and mutual respect because it communicates that you see her as an equal partner rather than an object to satisfy your needs. A man who practices this discipline rises above impulsive gratification, choosing instead to act in alignment with virtue and integrity.